MT Metal Series rear bumper for the Jeep JK with an optional tire carrier, rear brake light relocation, and high lift jack mount has exactly what you need to make your Jeep rock ready. This made in USA all welded steel rear bumper has the features on the top of your list, like heavy-duty frame attachment points, integrated rock light ports, and D-ring mounts. Best of all, when combined with the Mickey Thompson front bumper, tires, and wheels, your rig will look incredible and be ready for the trail.
Today we're going to be installing this MT Metal Series rear bumper and tire carrier kit on our 2014 JK.
First, we'll remove the rear tire to allow access to the stock carrier and third brake light for removal later. Next, we'll remove the factory bumper. This is done by removing the 8mm bolts securing the bumper's outside mounting brackets to the frame. Now we can remove the factory bumper from the frame. The factory tow hitch, if equipped, can be retained as it's compatible with the new bumpers.
Okay, now we're going to go ahead and cut our third brake line wires in preparation for installing our new third brake light.
Remove the bolts holding the factory spare tire carrier to the tailgate. Slide the driver's side and passenger side bumper mounts into the frame end so the holes in the frame sides are aligned with the welded nuts on the mounts. Next, we'll install the outer frame mounts. The driver's side uses larger oversized flat washers to cover factory oval holes in frame, and the passenger side is covered by the reinforcement bracket. To properly place the template, align the laser cutouts with a tab on the bottom frame bracket. Use a center punch to mark the pilot for the 3 holes to be drilled under the passenger side rail. Remove the passenger side internal and outer frame mounts, then drill out the punched locations. Start with a 1/4 inch drill bit, then finish with a 5/8 inch bit. Reinstall the bracket and reinforcement bracket on the passenger side.
When positioning this rear bumper, it's easiest if you have a friend help you get it into place.
Lift the bumper assembly into place on the frame and align it with the mounts. The 1/2 inch studs will align with the bracket holes and hold the bumper in place. Fasten the bumper to the studs. If installing the optional tire carrier, don't fully tighten the bumper bolts yet. Now we begin installation of the MT rear bumper tire carrier. The first step of the tire carrier assembly is to install the grease fitting into the pivot barrel of the MT rear bumper tire carrier. Place the carrier bracket and tire carrier together. Apply a thin coat, enough to fill the holes, of white lithium grease to the perforated side of one of the flat thrust washers and the inside of the pre-installed bearings inside the pivot housing.
Now you install the pivot shaft into the carrier, through the thrust washer, and into your carrier bracket.
Then use the kit supplied hardware to fasten the top of the pivot shaft, but only hand tighten this hardware for now. After coating the perforated side of the other thrust washer with white lithium grease and placing it on the bottom of the pivot shaft, shiny side down, join the tire carrier and the bumper by carefully lowering the tire carrier onto the bumper and inserting the pivot shaft into its hole in the bumper. Next, fully tighten the pivot shaft bolt on top first. Then fully tighten the hardware for the carrier bracket to the bumper. Now go back and tighten all of the remaining nuts and bolts on the tire carrier, pivot shaft, and carrier bracket, but do not use air tools on the pivot shaft bolts. They can be over-tightened and stripped out. Now go back over all the hardware installed into the mounts, frame, and bumper and fully tighten all with a socket or wrench. The door plate is assembled by drawing the metal sleeves into place inside the lower left corner and upper right corner holes of the molded blocks using the M8 bolt, washer, and nut. The proper orientation of the molded blocks is with the arrow on the block pointing up. Using the M8 hardware supplied in the kit, fasten the door plate to the tailgate door. Be sure to fasten the hardware through the 2 molded support blocks in the left side of the door plate.
Installation of the turnbuckle starts by installing the rod ends and the jam nuts into the turnbuckle. Now remember, these are left and right hand threads. Using the adjustability of the turnbuckle, a good starting point is going to be 6 1/4 inches. Now remember to leave your jam nuts turned all the way out so we can adjust this later. So with the tire carrier in the full open position, we're going to open the tailgate till it meets up with the turnbuckle and then install it.
Slowly close the rear tailgate door the first time to make sure all the adjustments are correct. When the tubes are snugly compressed in the molded supports with the rear tailgate door closed, The turnbuckle is at its optimal adjustment. The first step of assembly for the third brake light installation is to cut away any excess plastic from the light using a hacksaw, cutting disc, or grinder, and then smooth the edges. Reattach the wiring plug and reuse the factory torque screws.
Now install the brake light mounting studs to the tire carrier using the innermost mounting holes. Use the kit supplied nuts, washers, and lock washers to completely tighten this down.
Reconnect the brake light to the factory power harness. Zip ties can be used through the holes located up the height of the mount to retain slack in the harness. An optional high-lift jack mount is available and easily installed using the kit-supplied hardware to the main body of the tire carrier that has been pre-cut to accept the jack mount. The MT Metal Series rear bumper tire carrier installation is now complete. Made in the USA, the MT Metal Series rear bumper features rock light ports, D-ring mounts, an optional one-handed swing-out tire carrier capable of supporting up to a 40-inch tire with positive lockout for angled surfaces, and an optional high-lift jack mount. It's 33% lighter than competing bumpers, offers a limited lifetime warranty, and gives your Jeep a totally custom look. For information on the MT Metal Bumper Series, check out MickeyThompsonTires.com.